So a couple of weeks ago, I showed a video unboxing this new Mule Team knife from Spyderco. This is the AEBL steel version of the Mule Team knife. This one was made in Maniago, Italy. And in that video, I showed an unfinished version of this knife and said I was in the process of making a handle for it. And I got some comments from people asking to see the finished knife. So here it is. Um, this was made with figured maple, and I put a gray stain on it, which I've mixed feelings about. Uh, and then I did several coats of wipe-on polyurethane to give it this glossy look. Um, so I'll walk you through the process of making handles for a Mule Team knife in case any of you want to try it. It's not too difficult as long as you have a belt sander, uh, or if you're willing to do a lot of manual sanding. um, so Mule Team knives, when you buy them, look like this one on the bottom here. They're skeletonized. Just to back up a little bit, the concept of the Mule Team knife, the idea is Spyderco puts out these knives periodically, and it's the same blade profile but different steels. And the idea is that it's sort of a way to test drive a new steel that they might be introducing to their regular product line. Gives people a chance to like be beta testers, basically, to get the Mule Team knives, use them, abuse them, sharpen them, find out what the experience is of working with that steel, and then share it in the community through forums and videos like this one, and people can learn about the steels, and Spyderco can get feedback about what works and doesn't work and what's popular, and it helps to inform their decisions about what steels to use in production knives later. So I've got three different Mule Team knives here. I've got one in M398, which is Bowler steel. I've got one in, what's this, Rex 76, I think, which is from Crucible. Yeah, Rex 76. And then I've got this latest one, which is an AEBL, which is not a new steel. AEBL has been around for a long time. It was originally for razor blades, but it has not been used on a Spyderco knife previous to this, as far as I know. And when you get these knives, they are pretty bare bones. You get a box, and inside the box is this knife with a cardboard slip over the blade to protect it from cutting up the box. And they're skeletonized. These three were all made in different factories. This was made in Maniago, this was made in Taichung, Taiwan, and this was made in Golden, Colorado. And they also have some that are made in Seki City, Japan, I believe. So some people just take this and wrap the handle with paracord and call it a day, which is fine if that's comfortable enough for you and for your use. Paracord as a knife handle material is fine if you're just making, the occasional cut. If you're going to be really putting hard use on a knife, paracord is not going to be very comfortable for your hand. It's going to compress. It's going to get worn down. You're going to be able to feel hot spots through it because it's you get a lot more rigidity behind the parts of the paracord that are actually contacting steel than the parts that hang off the edges. So I'm not a big fan of paracord wrap for these knives. Spyderco does have an option that they provide, which is G10 scales that are available for purchase through their factory outlet. You can buy these in the store in Golden, or you can order them online. And they come with some, I think it's T6 or T8 hardware that screws together. And now you end up, the spine, the tang is a little bit proud on this, right? It extends, the metal extends a little bit beyond the edge of the G10. So that's, I mean, you could sand down just the metal, but if you're going to go through that kind of trouble, you might as well make your own handles. But the nice thing about this is it's interchangeable. Like, you could have one set of handle scales and several of these skeletonized knives, and you could swap this out and use it on different knives for different days, if you wanted to just try them out that way. They're kind of expensive though. The price is up there at around $50 now just for a pair of handles. You know, the knives themselves are reasonably affordable, usually under $100 for the blade, for the skeletonized, you know, blade and tang. They don't come with a sheath. Some people make their own sheaths, or Spyderco has a couple of options. There's a bolt-around sheath, right, which will work well with the G10 handles. It snaps in there. If you're making your own handles, you would, in order to get positive retention on this, you'd have to make them really pretty much exactly the same size and thickness as the bolt-around sheath. This one that I made, you can fit the knife in there, but you'd have to jam it in, and it wouldn't really have positive retention because it's thicker than the G10 scales. So if you're making your own handles, you might go with the leather sheath that Spyderco provides as an option. It's got a belt loop. It's welted, right? And it only comes in this one color, brown. And this fits, you can fit the knife with Spyderco's G10 handles in there, or you can fit in a variety of different handles that'll fit pretty snugly, that you make yourself. Pretty basic riveted construction. You know, if you can stitch leather, then you could make something yourself that could be potentially better, or you could set something up for scout carry, right? This is it only has a hanging carry option here. If you wanted to carry this horizontally or scout carry on the small of the back, it wouldn't be easily adaptable to that purpose. Right, so if you're going to make your own handles, like I've done here, what you'd basically do is trace out the profile of the handle on your wood stock, and then cut that out on a bandsaw or a scroll saw, or I used a scroll saw, a jigsaw. And you can cut a piece that's, I did it in stock that was about an inch thick, and then I did a cut through that stock to halve it, so that I'd have my symmetrical halves, and so that things like these, the figurine would line up that goes across, right? And then to hold everything together, you're going to use an epoxy. I used 2-part Gorilla Glue epoxy, mixed together the hardener and the other component, and you have a couple minutes of working time there. But you also want something that goes through the tang of the knife, and you can get these bracket bolts. These screw apart, and what you want on the bracket bolts is ones that have 4 millimeter diameter on the shaft. Doesn't really matter what the diameter of the head is, but anything bigger than 4 millimeters, you're not going to be able to fit it through these holes, these smaller holes. This one is 6 millimeters on the head and 4 millimeters on the shaft. And you can put some Loctite in there when you put these together, because the idea with this handle is it's not going to come apart. It's not replaceable or interchangeable. I'm going to end up sanding off the slot, so you're not going to have anything to turn to unscrew it. So it's basically permanent. So I might as well use red Loctite on the threads. So you put your Loctite in there. You put your wood pieces on there. You drill holes in the wood that align with the holes in the tang of the knife and handle. And you can use a drill press, or you can use a hand drill if you are pretty good at keeping it straight. I use a drill press. And then you slather on the epoxy, put your sides on there. You can get epoxy around the perimeter of the bracket screw. This thing, I don't know if I said, this is called a bracket bolt. These, you can get them at knife making supply stores, or you can also find them on Amazon.com. And like I said, what you're going to look for is one that has a 4 millimeter shaft diameter, and then 6 millimeters or larger on the head. So you've got everything glued together. Clamp it, let it dry, let it cure, and then you'll have a big block of wood with these bolts will be protruding further than the thickness of the wood. So you're going to grind those down until they're flush with the wood, and I just used a die grinder. And then you're going to use a belt sander to sort of further flush these up and to start profiling the handle, right? You're going to turn it on that belt so that you get a radius. And you might need to use a Dremel tool or something like that to get some of these inner curves. But you can get pretty close between the belt sander and the Dremel to what you want. And then you're going to hand sand it. You might need to clamp the blade in a vise so that you can get your sandpaper and really get all around there good. And then stain it whatever color you want. As I said, I used a gray stain on this, which gives it sort of an aged look. I go back and forth on this. I don't know. I probably wouldn't use this same stain if I was doing this project over again, but it's all right. It does show the figurine in that flamed maple a little bit, help it give it some contrast. Other than that, it just kind of looks aged like barnwood or something. But then you're going to, after you stain it, you're going to oil it or lacquer it. I used a polyurethane, hand rubbed, wipe on polyurethane, and sanded it down with 400 grit sandpaper between coats. and I did probably 5 or 6 coats. But now I have a pretty comfortable handle. It's very ergonomic. It does feel better than the G10 handle. Whether it looks better is, of course, subjective. That's up to your opinion, which you're welcome to share with me in the comments. Please be polite, but you don't have to like what I've done. All right, so that's the Mule Team handle that I made. Thanks for watching the video. Go ahead and like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. See you next time.